And we're going live, and we're live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Gravity Max live stream. Today we have a fun topic. It's pretty cool, pretty interesting topic. I think certain people, like me and Sebastian, we're probably very well acquainted just with this topic in general because of all of the, like, when we write stories and stuff, it's very important. But
we always have Google Maps open whenever
yes,
we're working on
yeah,
anything.
exactly.
It has to be open.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was doing a lot of work on like lore for my fourth book, which is 20 years in the future. So I'm trying to develop like a 20-year prediction plan, right? And so I always have Google Maps up. Like I'm like, what should happen and where? So yeah. So maps, cartography. That's what we're talking about in this episode. And we have Mike with us. How are you doing, Mike?
I'm fantastic, Max. How are you?
I am doing well also. So what's your map credentials?
I play GeoGuessr a lot.
Ooh,
Nice.
how well do you do?
Nice.
Usually I get 3 out of 5, like within, like at least in the country.
Very nice.
Nice.
We could play around to that at the end
yeah,
of this one.
We should do that.
I want to get the one where you have to turn around in a pyramid. Is there? That is one of them. I got that one.
Wow. I wonder where I am.
I was like, I just saw a bunch of sand and people walking. It's like, where am I? I turned around and there's a pyramid.
That's great.
Wow.
Yeah. All right. So let's see. So do you want to do the map drawing first?
Yeah.
Or
We could.
plugs?
Yeah. You know what? Let's start off with that.
Yeah. Let's just do the plugs and then get yeah. Or the drawing. I don't know.
I'm good to do the drawing first. Like they've heard the plugs. So, they know.
Yeah, they know. Okay, so the first challenge shall be: we are going to draw maps from memory in 5 minutes. Right? You said 5 minutes.
Yes, of the world.
I will get of the world. I will get a 5-minute timer going. No, wait, that's 5 hours. Okay, 5
I don't know what Upper Canada
on the clock.
Make it
Canada.
So smiley face.
So how do we do this? I'm gonna be drawing with a pencil. You know.
I'm also gonna be drawing with a pencil.
I'm going to be drawing with my mouse.
All right.
Nice. Okay. So when should we? And should I? How do I put the timer up? I mean, I have a timer. Do you want to get a
tell us when it goes
timer
off.
up for the stream?
No, just tell us when it goes off.
Okay. All right. Okay. Got 5 minutes here, and 3, 2, 1, begin. All right.
I lost where MS Paint was, so I clicked out.
I'm gonna be bad.
Michael has already lost.
I'm gonna start with America first, because that's the one I know.
Yes.
I forgot what America looks like on the top. Right?
Yeah, I'm now forgetting what every country in history looks like.
Yeah.
No, America. I'm just completely excluding Alaska and Hawaii. That's fine.
They'll feel very left out, Jam.
The goal.
I'm more going for like general shapes of things. If you catch, my meaning.
I'm leaving out South America too, if you don't mind.
Well, it's funny. Certain things I have details. Like I'm drawing Cape Cod and like Long Island here because I know that. But, like nothing else is gonna be in that great a detail, you know.
Yeah, I get you.
You know, Alaska comes off here somewhere.
It's weird because I'm not drawing borders. I don't know if you guys are drawing borders.
Yeah. We don't need to draw. That would be too much. I mean, there's many countries.
Yeah.
Okay. Is this like?
No, I draw.
Like I'm not even doing the U.S.-Canada one. I mean.
Yeah. I got you.
Oh, I'm doing that, but like, I mean.
We should compare it. We should see what projection
I kind of forget what all those little countries are. I kind of forget all those little countries down, like between Mexico and like Colombia.
Like Central America.
Central America.
Guatemala, Belize.
Yeah, I don't know what they look like on the map, so I'm just kind of drawing a bunch of circles, hoping that satisfies the Guatemalans.
It won't.
Alaska is way too big. Also, I have left out the Bering Strait.
I have left out.
He has left.
I have left out Colombia and below. That's what I left out. So. We'll see what happens.
Got.
Oh God, what is that? What is that?
This is the Atlantic Ocean. Ooh.
Oh my God, my art teacher would be ashamed.
Yes. I think we did this at the beginning of like 6th grade.
Yeah, I kind of remember that.
I wish I knew where that map was. So I could
Greenland's
compare it.
there. Antarctica's up here.
Oh, Europe's gonna be a nightmare.
Oh yeah.
I kind of forgot what Europe looks like, so I just know France, England, Germany, and Poland. That's Ireland there. This is England. This is France. No, I'm just gonna keep drawing. That's Italy.
Oh no, I'm reaching the edge of the page.
Africa.
no.
Not
Africa.
good. Not good. It's
Still
not gonna. It's not gonna. I am
The
going to
Middle
get a second piece of paper.
Norway. I need to do Norway. And then the other one that's up there, Sweden, and Finland.
All right.
Now Russia. Russia takes up the entire top.
I have like Italy.
Russia.
Like Italy is very prominent, and
Nice.
nothing else. Is.
If I have time, because I'm definitely speedrunning this, I'm gonna label them.
Yeah. True.
Yeah.
True. Okay. Yeah. I got it.
Actually, I don't know where any of this
Oh,
stands
we
out.
have a minute 30 left.
Oh God, I have
Yeah.
left out Asia.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm kind of going like a
Middle,
printer, just like from not
east.
top to down, but left to right.
Yeah. Me too. Okay.
Africa.
Then you got like this little ocean here. So let's see, and then.
Europe,
Got him.
Italy.
Okay.
I misspelled Italy. Ice.
What a legend.
I didn't misspell it. I think I just did not properly write out Italy, so you cannot tell what it says.
Then you get
Fire.
I've purposely left out Britain,
wow.
Nor.
but Ireland is there.
Wanker.
But Ireland is there though.
Finland.
Oh wow! What a slight.
USA.
Oh shoot!
Allah.
I'm going to run out of time. You will see the rushing develop.
Yes.
Canada.
The progression of rushing. Okay.
Greenland.
Then we get.
And then
Okay.
that's
Mexico.
Southeast Asia, and then this will be Malaysia or
Cuba.
Indonesia.
Random countries down here.
Yeah, Japan just did not make it onto my map. They didn't qualify.
Japan didn't make it. Oh no.
Colombia,
Okay. Well, I'm gonna draw Japan here.
Oh, there's Portugal.
Do we purposely leave out New Zealand? They're always left out.
Oh no! Don't leave them out. Don't leave them out.
All right.
They're very valuable.
Yeah, so I'm kind of missing all of Asia.
Australia.
Yeah, me too.
That's it.
No,
Okay, we're
see,
done.
you're
Hands
only
up.
including Australia.
Hands up,
I'm
hands up.
talking-
Hands up. We're done.
Jim.
I missed
Stop.
everything.
Okay.
You missed everything.
So
Dude, okay. When you see my map, you're gonna see how I just forgot what the Middle East looked like.
Yeah.
all right, let's see if I can get a
that.
picture. I'll take a picture of this and put it.
Am I able to share my screen so you can see it? Or
Uh,
not?
No,
Yeah,
no.
I
Drop
missed-
the picture in. Just drop the picture.
inadvertently, I inadvertently left out New Zealand, just due to time constraints.
I left out a few countries.
Oh my God. Oh my Lord. All right, I'm gonna copy that into the presentation. That is something to behold.
Okay.
All right.
Let's see.
This is Jam's map, everyone.
All right, let me get this.
Yes.
Colombia, Africa. I just
All
left
right.
out everything south and
Here,
Asia.
I'll take a picture of mine and throw it in the Discord.
Nice. Nice. Nice job.
That is something to behold.
Max, you gotta untab out, unpresent and represent.
Huh?
My Scandinavia wasn't
That's
connected
up to
anything.
that's up to Sid.
Hey, your map doesn't look bad though, at Max. Of course, you would have the map like
Hold on.
basically.
Oh,
memorized.
thank you. Yeah, exactly. Because I'm staring at it like all day. Let's see.
Hold on, I gotta copy it in.
Yep. We have Chat.
Okay.
Chat says
Don't care about the
shrimp
future.
goat.
Theme.
Shrimp goat says theme.
Theme.
So,
Yeah,
I don't know if that's-
yours is much more eloquent than mine, I have to say.
oh, thank you. Yeah. Australia just got unfinished, and Indonesia, unfortunately,
Yeah,
did not.
my Greenland, it was proportions for me. I didn't like make my
Mm.
scale. Like, and
I
also
forgot about the
Alaska.
Philippines. I forgot about the
Yeah.
Philippines.
I forgot about all the Canadian islands up there, but
Yeah, that's why I just did like that
yes,
thing at the top.
just like Cthulhu tentacles.
Yeah,
People are gonna think
honestly.
mine's cut off too. It's not cut off.
All right, here I will organize all of them on here.
Yeah. Let's see. And
Okay,
yeah.
so we
Oh,
have-
let's do a who in the comments. Tell us who won. Tell us who got the best.
There is a very clear winner.
It's me.
So that's Max's.
No, you gotta label them.
Yeah.
too.
Here we. All right. I'll
You know
label.
Here, I'm just
So
just
we've got
moving them in.
Mike.
I think I was the winner. Let's take a vote.
Got,
Everyone who says me. All right.
And then here, can I just paste it in, please? Thank you. That is mine.
Mine's so good. Come for more entertainment. Like
I feel like mine, there's artistic value to it.
mhm.
Like,
look at
there's a lot of motifs going on here. Like the
There's
fact
nothing wrong with your Italy.
well, I just needed to like point out where Italy was to prove
All
that I
right.
knew.
So, yeah, vote in the comments below. And
Vote
you
in
know
the
what I'll do? I'll
comments.
make since we're at 1,000 now. Like YouTube keeps telling me over and over again, we unlocked community posts. So I think I can make like a poll. Have you ever seen other YouTubers do that? So
Yeah.
I'll make a poll tomorrow.
Oh, here, wait, let me turn our
That
cameras
was the
off
best.
because we are kind of covering it.
Listen here, cyclist.
Just
I
for a
didn't ask
second.
you if you thought the UK and England were different or not. I asked you to vote for mine.
Here is
got it.
Cyclists.
the
Americans
maps.
always think that England and the United Kingdom are the same thing. They most emphatically are not. Yeah, no, I know they're not. You've got the UK includes Northern Ireland, Scotland, England, and Wales. Great Britain is just the island that has Scotland,
No, I mean,
Wales, and England on it.
I was just
And
informing
then
you about
each of those are their own thing. But yeah.
So there you have it. Vote.
Yep.
Vote.
Vote. Yes.
I realized my Scandinavia is not connected to anything. I realized that at the
Yeah.
last minute.
The islands of Scandinavia.
But there you go. Vote in the chat, which I should
Very
have
nice.
pulled up.
Very, very
I'm
nice.
a responsible YouTuber.
Oh yeah. All right. Should we move on,
Yeah.
or let's linger for a moment?
Let's just
I want to wait until
leave
the
that
votes
out.
come in. I'll just say the plugs. You don't have to show them.
Yeah, sure.
So, visit the Gravity Max website at gravitymaxmedia.com. Follow Gravity Max on social media. It gives you updates of like what's going on. Maybe we're not doing the show. Like if something is wrong, if there's a mishap. Links to everything in the description. Also follow Sebastian on social media, Instagram and YouTube. 128 seconds. He's got some great videos on YouTube, like short educational, the counterpart to the live streams we do here, and the links are in the description as well. That. And then finally, A Somewhat Odd Start is my third book. It's on Amazon, and the link is in the description. It's the sequel to my last two books. It's the final book in the trilogy. So yeah, those are all the plugs. If you're interested in anything I just mentioned, in the description below. So yeah, and tell us what you think about these maps. Shrimp Goat says Mike for the win.
Wow.
That's one vote for Michael.
I feel like that's gonna close it out, honestly.
I think, to be fair, yeah. I think we'll get some people watching back later.
No one
but-
said me, dude.
Dude,
Listen,
yeah, you
This
won.
guy, Shrimp Goat, is the best. I won. There's no how could I not win? Mine was clearly the best. If
That
you
is-
say it's not, you're wrong.
That is the map world leaders use to like direct
Mm.
military strikes.
Well, think about it. Think about
Yeah,
it. Has anyone ever attacked South America? No. Has anyone gone from lower Africa? No.
Has anyone ever attacked
Australia.
South
When was
America?
Australia last attacked? I don't know. World War II. No,
Emus in
over 50 years ago.
1960, I think. I think the emus attacked.
Was there
The emu war.
like a
What
global
else?
war.
Mhm. Not Australia. I think they fought World War II. There was a ton of, what was it?
Really, it did, but it
Battle
wasn't
of the
like
Coral
crazy.
Sea.
It wasn't
Battle
crazy.
of the Coral
They
Sea.
still
It was
did a
in the
lot,
Pacific
like,
Theater. But
crazy.
anyway,
I think
fun-
the real
fun
highlight,
challenge
the
there.
real highlight
try
here.
try and do it at home. See
Yeah.
if you can do it at home and try compare. Should have said that before because now you'll be biased because you'll have seen it. But you know, try it for yourselves.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
How does it feel to have forgotten Indonesia? It's a
Yeah, I
crucial-
said that. I know.
and you don't
It
have
doesn't feel good.
Iceland, and
Feels great.
you
I
don't
have-
have
I have-
know.
you don't
These
have
are the time
Madagascar,
constraints.
and
Oh,
all
you're
that.
right.
You forgot it.
You're right.
I also
You
forgot it.
don't have
I guess.
Madagascar.
I'm
But
not
I'm
even more
aware.
superior is the fact that I remembered Iceland.
Yes.
I like how for some reason like half of South Africa on your map, like the nation of South Africa, has just been like excised for some reason. Like,
on
Help
See
me,
mine.
that?
Mario.
Yeah, I don't know
what
what
happened
that
to it.
decision was. Well, it's supposed to be rounded. You see, it looks like half of it has just sunk into the ocean.
Yeah, this is a futuristic
Meteor
map.
hit it. A Chinese rock.
Okay. It's a global warming map.
Yes, it is.
That explains a few things. Yeah. Anyway, let's get on with the
Peru
show.
has been deleted.
Oh no, yeah.
But-
Wait, we
All
haven't
right.
gotten to the social medias yet. Oh my god.
Well, we did, but we don't have to show the social media. So
Yeah,
just
but
let's go to
here,
the title
just-
card.
Just in summary, website, me, somewhat odd start, Mr. Worldwide.
Yeah, so that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about cartography. We're talking about maps. Generally, we're talking about world maps here, but I suppose smaller scale maps are also something to think about. But we'll talk about different methods and stuff like that. They got triangulation. That's my favorite thing to talk about here.
Yes.
'Cause it's like math. Let me actually add that to the tags. I forgot to add triangulation to the tags. But yeah, so maps are how we see the world. And it's one of those things in the modern day that we definitely take for granted, that we have an incredibly accurate picture of the world. I would say all of our drawings were better than what, like, say, I mean, many kings,
Yeah.
you know, our drawings are probably better than what Julius Caesar could have known, right? So that's just very interesting to think about. It's like this beneficial thing that we have
I
for
draw
being in the present.
better than some kings from the 16. I don't know what you're from.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Dude, they
So-
call me an artist for a reason.
Yeah, he's Michelangelo.
Yeah, yeah,
Michael
exactly.
D'Angelo.
Exactly.
But yeah, so maps are obviously useful for, you know, you're on a road trip, that's the only reason. No, road trip.
On a voyage,
I mean, there's
you're-
just so much
you're
different.
bored,
Yeah, you're on a voyage
bored on
across
an
the
airplane,
ocean.
and you're looking at the plane
Yeah,
flying over the
You're
map.
like, where am I over?
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
but
for
navigation,
strikes.
Yes.
even like military tactics, maps at various scales
Feeding ideas.
are indispensable. I think you know, a truly, in the past, of course, because now everyone kind of has essentially all the knowledge about maps, except for there are notable exceptions that we can talk about. But if you were to give, you know, any ruler in, you know, 1 AD, because there is no 0, a modern map, I think that would give them a significant advantage. Like, that would change things significantly, and they would like conquer their region of the world, you know?
Yeah.
So the power of maps must not be underestimated.
I feel like someone's going to underestimate one. Turns out
Yeah.
America was lying the whole time, and Hawaii is actually.
It turns out we have actually been living in India this entire time.
we are India.
Columbus
What?
was right.
Oh no! Yeah,
It was all just a farce to prove Columbus wrong.
Yes.
yeah. The globe is actually 20,000 miles in circumference.
Mm.
I was thinking
That
about
was
this today,
serious.
actually. So
Oh,
here-
you know what else?
What
we
were you
all
thinking
forgot
about, Mike?
Antarctica.
Oh, we
here's
did.
what I was
We
thinking.
did.
Right, so I got into like a dispute about time, or actually, I didn't get. Some other people did,
Yeah.
and so I got involved because I wanted to prove them both wrong. And so
Hmm.
the argument was that time is either a fourth dimension or it's just always running. It was like something about a straight line, right? And then today I was thinking about it again. Where I was like, you know, if everyone just said it was 2020 instead of 2021, and like no one said it was 2020 or 2021, it would just be 2020, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, exactly. It's all a lie.
Yeah, but all the like
Does this keep you up at night?
astronomical events
It
would
kept me
still
up
occur at
while
the
I
same
was
time.
trying to fall asleep at my grandma's house today.
Ooh.
Nice. Yeah, very interesting. But yeah, so we will begin with the history. We've been talking a bit about history already, just how like they didn't have a good idea of what maps looked like. I mean, even of just like a 5-mile radius. Like think about it practically. Like you think that you don't have a plane, you know. You are in whatever age of technology, right? You don't have any way to get a bird's eye view. All maps are bird's eye views. They're all aerial shots of something. And you must think, how do I get those aerial shots? Now we have, you know, planes and satellites, and that's how we get our maps. But for the vast majority of human history, that did not exist. So the only way to get a map would be to actually like walk around the landscape. And you would have to somehow figure out what the landscape would look like from above while you are stuck in it, which is actually a lot harder to do than you might think, right? Like that's actually very challenging. It's like, I mean, if you have a map of a maze that you're in, that gives you an immediate advantage, right? An aerial map of a maze. But how would you generate a map of a maze from within the maze? What I would imagine you would try to do is like record every 90-degree turn you make and measure the length that you travel in any straight line to try and get a picture. But as you can tell, it's a fairly crude
That's
method.
what they did in the Maze Runner, right?
I think. Well, didn't it always shift around?
It did. Well, it did shift, but they mapped the shifts, and then
it
spelled out a message, or that was something like that.
Just like it's just like you're sus. It's just some stupid meme, just a bad meme, just like, oh no.
Wow. It just spells out
no, I remember
your
that
mom.
movie. And yeah,
Your mom. Got him.
And
thank you, Mike.
And then that was an interesting movie series. I don't think it's done, right? I forget where the progress was at, but I remember there's 3 books. And I remember this. There's a trilogy of books, right? And the last I have been aware of it, there have been 3 movies. But I knew when I went to see the 3rd movie, they were like, they split it 3rd movie part 1. Yeah. Is the 2nd part out yet? I haven't seen it.
Well, there's 5 books.
Oh, there's 5. Okay.
Because I think.
Interesting.
Yeah. So there were like the 3 original ones, but then the Kill Order and then the Fever Code came out. I think he's on like for movies. Yeah, I think only 3 have come out. Maze Runner. It has nothing to do with maps. Well, I guess it kind of does. Maze.
It kind of does.
Yeah. Okay. So there've been 3 movies, and they're literally just like one-on-one with the books.
Interesting. But yeah. So anyway, let's get into the history. Let's begin. So first, we have early efforts. Well, look at this thing. This is actually impressive. This is from the year 1170, I believe, and it's Weltkart des Idrissi. Let me pull this. And so you might notice this is actually upside down. I gotta find this thing. Weltkart des Idrissi. So this map is actually upside down, what we have put here, because originally it was made with south facing upward and north, being the bottom of the map. I forget who made it. Was it, I think it was like someone in Persia. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that sounds right. Here.
Yeah, Idrissi.
What was it called?
Weltkart des Idrissi. Let me just.
All right, I got it.
Yeah. So, but for its time, this is actually a very accurate map. So this map is from 1170, and it sort of gets the big ideas of the world. And it's sort of impressive how accurate it was, again, because all they had was, basic triangulation methods, just travelers, really. That's all they really, I don't think triangulation was used for such a large scale here. In the 1700s, they used triangulation to get a really good map of France, because the King of France wanted it. But then, I think once it took 80 years to finish, and once it was finished, the French Revolution happened. So then, the original king that wanted it had already died, but then, his son that still wanted it got killed. So yeah, not fun. But yeah, look at this. It gives you Italy, Sicily, Spain. It gives you the general outline.
Yeah.
But it's also interesting to see what assumptions were made, because at the bottom you can see that the Horn of Africa essentially just goes out indefinitely, according to this map maker. And that's just an interesting thing. You can also kind of see India and Indonesia and those islands down there. And then off to the very east, you have China. But the Asian continent is significantly compressed here. That's sort of interesting because it's such a large landmass that, I assume that the way this map was made was by, hearing tales from travelers, right? Yeah. And so eventually it's how big is big, right? It's it took me, X nights to get from point A to point B. And so then the map maker uses that. So it's very interesting how this kind of thing works. But, this is during the Dark Ages. So this kind of, I've always heard that it's a myth. And I kind of agree, the myth of the Dark Ages. Look at this. This is Dark Age progress, right? But yeah, it's interesting. Very good map of the Mediterranean.
Yeah, I was going to say that. So this guy that made it, he has a really long name, but it's shortened to just Muhammad al-Idrisi. And he is a Muslim geographer, but he was born in Spain and lived in Sicily. And he just bounced all around the Mediterranean, which is why it's the most accurate, even though Italy's kind of doing something funky. That's why it's the most accurate, because that's actually where he lived. It says where it lists his travels, it doesn't say that he went to any part of the actual Middle East or Asia.
Interesting. Yeah, that is fascinating. But yeah.
So have you ever been outside the U.S.?
Been to Canada once.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Did you go to Tim Hortons? That reminds.
I saw Niagara Falls. That's all I did.
Oh yeah, that's what I did.
Is that also you've ever been out of the country?
No, I went to Costa Rica. That was nice.
Okay, well actually I went to the Bahamas too. But I don't know. That's a territory, isn't it?
Yeah, we own that.
I think no, we don't. I thought it's the British.
No,
I don't think we own the Bahamas.
The British own Bermuda. I thought we owned the Bahamas.
I don't think we own the Bahamas.
I've been to both.
I wanna take
It might be its own thing, but if anything, I think it's part of Britain.
Oh no! No.
What? Is it its own? I think it might.
It's its own
government
thing. It gained independence from Britain in
its monarch. Its monarch is Queen Elizabeth.
Yes.
Wow. But it's it's one of those semi-autonomous things. Yeah, we don't own them.
I can't believe it. I cannot believe it. I've been on British-owned soil.
Oh wow! You can't take that.
I say living in America.
Living
in one of the original 13 colonies.
Yeah, at least if you were in California and Texas, you can make the argument Spain, or you could say France in the Midwest. But yeah, I'm here in the land of the flowers, conquered by Andrew Jackson. But anyway, yeah, so this map is just interesting. Navigational purposes, you can see how it can be useful. If you're sailing in the Mediterranean and you're how do I get from one place to another? And so that's interesting. But yeah. So here, let's go to the next one. So, look at this.
This is so strange.
Look at these maps. This speaks to an idea that at one point, at this time in history, some maps were meant to be accurate and others were meant for the purpose of, I mean, they were almost art, essentially. It was like, this is the world. This is our representation of the world. So on the left, you can see how this is a map of Europe tilted on its side to look like some sort of Christian, or maybe it's a king or something like that. Like sort of like a reflection of the like Eurocentric viewpoint. So it was obviously made by someone in Europe. That would be my guess. I think that's German maybe, but I don't know. And then on the right here, we have another interesting sort of map that's like, I don't know, what would you say? It's like a metaphorical representation.
I hope it's metaphorical.
Yeah, of the world as like a three-petaled flower centered around Jerusalem, which is like the holy city, you know, for all the different Abrahamic religions. So this sort of gives you the sense of like maps are also about how we see ourselves. So.
And that one's also German too.
Ah, okay.
German.
These were both done in. I know the one on the right was done in 1580 or 1581.
Yeah, they were both done in the 1500s, I believe.
Yeah. So.
Oh, I just figured out what theme was. Oh, that's so fun. Anyway, from that commenter, it's an inside joke. Oh. I know this person. But anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say.
I'm sorry. I meant to say. Did you and this person both break their femurs?
No.
I don't know.
You didn't break your femur?
Our femurs are fine. I've never broken a bone.
You've never broken a bone?
Neither have I.
Yeah.
Well, that's
femur would be pretty painful, I think. Isn't femur supposed to be the most? Yeah. My brother broke his toe like a few weeks ago, so it sucks for him. Broke the track record. He like hit it against a wall. Like that's the level we're at. Like he plays soccer like 3 times a week, and of course he didn't break it during soccer. He broke it hitting it against the wall. But yeah, so these are, you know, just sort of like more metaphorical. Like how do we see ourselves? That's one of the valuable aspects of mapping. I wouldn't even call this mapping. It's more just drawing. Like,
yeah, honestly.
Drawing with inspiration. But yeah, so let's go to the next one. And here we have the age of exploration. So there's a few things that I think would be important to talk about in terms of methodology for mapping. So before we talked about triangulation. And the basic premise of triangulation is that of parallax. And so that is a fairly interesting concept. So say that you can verifiably measure a distance of 10 meters. So you and a friend are trying to make a map. So you have him stand exactly 10 meters away from you, and you both look, say, directly north. Then what you can do is say there's some object in the distance, some mountain, that is a little bit off to the left. If you measure the angle that that landmark is, and then your friend also measures that angle from 10 meters away, you can compare the angle and it will be slightly different because of your slightly different locations. And using trigonometry, you know, sines, cosines, and the mathematics of triangles, you can actually measure the distance to that distance object without ever, you know, physically walking all that distance. And that is very valuable for map making because it also allows you to extrapolate. Because now that you know the distance to that mountain, you could try measuring some other distant object where you are right where you were before, and now your friend is on that distant mountain, and you can measure the angle to some other distant object. That is how a lot of map making was done. It's just triangles and triangles and triangles, angles, and just crazy sort of extrapolations like that. The only problem with those extrapolations is your angle measuring devices are going to be relatively crude. You know, maybe at best you could get like, oh, that's 5.7 degrees off from whatever. And because of that, your errors will slowly compound until you get something that's a little wonky looking, but fairly accurate, especially given the technology of the time. So another thing that you can do, and as the age of exploration began, right, the ocean is just a vast expanse of nothingness. There are no landmarks in the ocean other than the occasional unreliable island. So you can't really use triangulation across an ocean, but what you can do is measure your location on the Earth. If you know that Earth is a sphere, which at this point they did, they had to for navigation, otherwise they would have like failed miserably. If you know the Earth is a sphere, then you can use the position of the stars to tell where you actually are on the planet. And that allowed them to get some more accurate map. So that's just an interesting thing here. You know, you could look, say, you can sort of tell where you are based on the altitude of Polaris, because Polaris is going to be the North Star, so it'll always be at the same altitude for a given latitude. So those sort of things, star charts, actually help you figure out where you are. But yeah, if we look at this is just sort of interesting how they began mapping the new world, right?
Max,
yeah.
If you could discover one country, what would it be?
Like,
if you could have been responsible, if you could have been responsible for the discovery of one country, what would that country be?
I don't know. I don't understand, because a lot of the countries, like, you know, especially in Europe, like they discover. I mean, you could say
what would give you the most?
Kind of weird.
What would give you the most
like,
clout?
what does discovery mean?
Like,
I mean, probably America,
You'd
the
be
U.S.
America?
That would be my preference. Just because I'm here, so I'm like, you know,
Imagine
country.
picking the U.S. and not Guatemala.
Well, think about it.
Guatemala.
Think about it.
Why'd you pick Guatemala, Mike?
Because Guate.
I see.
You know, Americo Vespucci or whatever, that guy. He's got his name on America. You know, every time you say America, you're like referencing him.
Okay, so if
you know, that's a good reputation to have.
If you could have a country named after you, what would it be? Like, what would be the equivalent?
Well, he has the whole 2 continents named after him, so I would totally go for an America Vespucci type of situation.
Both continents, I like it.
Yeah, North and South America. But yeah, it is interesting how they chose to fill in the maps here. Something funny is that they sailed, if you look to the left, many explorers sailed up the Gulf of California, but not all the way. So they just assumed it continued, and they assumed that California was this island off the coast of America, which is funny. But yeah, the eastern coast of the Americas and the Caribbean were better known than the rest of it. And as time moved on, this sort of like foggy horizon expanded. The Caribbean was where Columbus first landed, I believe, and that's where the most profitable colonies were. Actually, it's interesting. The American colonies were not as profitable as we Americans would like to assume. Like, it was mainly the Caribbean that was like, and South America, but yeah, so it's sort of interesting how these maps march outward. And then on the opposite side, to the east, you have Australia, that they assumed was a larger sort of landmass merged with Papua New Guinea, because again, they hadn't sailed far enough. They didn't really know. And that's just sort of interesting, because it gives you a sort of like foggy horizon almost with these older maps. That's just sort of interesting. I mean, it must have plagued the people at the time. What's up?
Papua New Guinea.
Yeah, it must have plagued the people of the time. You know, like, what is beyond? You know, what's beyond that haze that we do not know? Very, very interesting.
Yeah, I would have liked to explore.
Yeah.
The world.
I don't know, man. Scurvy and stuff.
I would just eat oranges. Scurvy is the most easily avoidable.
You can't eat oranges. It's not easily avoidable. You know how expensive oranges are? Oranges in this economy?
Well, I would go and explore and find them, because here's what I would do.
Okay.
I would do Ponce de Leon's job, except I'd actually find the damn thing. I would find the Fountain of Youth and profit off that.
Interesting. Here's the thing about oranges too. If a voyage is more than a week long, the fruit is going to rot. So it's impossible. What if Ponce de Leon actually did find the Fountain of Youth? He just couldn't tell anyone, because, he couldn't tell everyone because it would cause a mass hysteria, right?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe he's still around today.
You think he's a public figure?
What if he might be watching this very live stream?
What if he stop it?
What public figure would he be? He might be Stop It.
He might be Stop It.
Yeah. Anyway.
I feel like he'd be one of the actors that just seemingly don't age, like Keanu Reeves or Paul Rudd, those guys. Yeah,
probably. Anyway, so this map's cool.
Yeah.
All right, so next we have, eventually the maps were sort of getting solidified. People were figuring out what exactly is going on. And so this is from 1800s. I think 1870 would be my guess, if I remember correctly. This is just, kind of interesting. It's not very detailed, but you can see that it's pretty much got everything understood. I don't really see any major flaws here, which is interesting. So this is sort of, they've done it. They've gotten the map of the world. They just don't know with that much detail,
They even included New Zealand.
Yeah, exactly. So this is just the more and more that you sail a place, the better and better you're going to understand it, just out of necessity, kind of. You've got surveyors, you've got governments trying to map out their own territory, very interesting kind of stuff here. Just finalizing it.
Yeah. Very interesting.
It's interesting to see the progression. But yeah, so then next we see this map, which is even more in detail, right?
Yeah.
It's got all the major cities, all the, it's even got, I'm not sure, roads. Not really roads.
And we said this one was from the 20s, right?
Yeah, this is from the 20s. So it's just interesting to see that progression. And they did all this without satellite technology. Up until this point, now they're finally getting plane technology. But they did this just through the methods we were talking before, just triangulation, just sailing. It's really fascinating. You could probably, it would take a while, but you could detail the length of a coast and the shape of a coast through triangulation methods. It would just be incredibly difficult, but they did it, and as time went on, they got more and more accurate with it. So that brings us to the final slide of the history here, and that is satellite technology. Pretty self-explanatory. You can see everything now, and in fairly good detail. You can go into Google Earth and be like, hey, I can see my house. That's what everyone does on Google, right?
The very first thing you ever
The very first thing you do. Hey, I can see my house. But yeah, so something interesting is that not everywhere has publicly available satellite imagery. Some places are interestingly covered up. And that's not as much a thing about technology, but a thing about politics. We actually didn't have it in our oddity slides, as we'll talk about it now. This is military bases and stuff. So the US will say to Google, don't, for instance, if you go to South Korea on Google Maps, it has very poor map quality because it intentionally blurry and inaccurate to certain degrees so that North Korea can't use the publicly available information. So you've got like really poorly made maps out here, out there in South Korea. So that's just kind of interesting. I think certain parts of Israel are the same way. Basically, American allies that don't want to get airstriked and nuked and stuff like that, we intentionally blur their maps, which is just very interesting. I think different countries, more censorious countries will also kind of do this, where they'll depending on the country, different countries don't recognize the sovereignty of other countries, right? Like say China and Taiwan. If you're to go to China and look at any maps, it'll show Taiwan as like Chinese Taipei or something like that, as some extension of the country, right? So it's interesting. It depends on where you are, and that's just a fascinating sort of thing about maps. They can largely be political. Yeah. But it's also really cool how you can see stuff from space very accurately with satellite technology. I like to zoom in on the Panama Canal. It's pretty interesting. And then you've also got the Suez Canal. We have cut entire continents apart, if you think about it.
That is true.
Isn't that interesting? It wasn't very hard to do. They were already like 99% cut. But it's pretty cool that humans have been able to do that. Yeah, and then you've got the Suez Canal, which recently had that whole debacle.
Oh,
you
yeah.
could say, right? Yeah, that was an interesting one. The memes were interesting. But anyway, so yeah, that's the history of maps right there.
I wonder if, speaking about things with good maps, Plague Inc. has a great map. I wonder if they included something about the Suez Canal in the news thing, because they often update it.
Oh, yeah, that would be interesting.
They have the news feed, so I wonder if they added it as an event.
Suez Canal infection.
It slows infection because ship transfer is down.
Oh, yeah.
I bet they did. I want to see if they did that.
Something strange is that when I was watching videos about the Suez Canal thing, some videos would call the ship the Evergreen and others would call it the Ever Given. And I'm like, wait, what's the ship's actual name? I thought it was Evergreen.
Scary? Right after that. Mm-hmm. Sorry, something just happened. Right after that happened, right? I was going to a college to go tour it, right? And everywhere, I was on the highway and just looking out, and every time I looked, there was a fucking Evergreen truck. Excuse my language.
Yep.
Yeah, can see how concerned I was.
Yeah.
I looked at my right, there was an Evergreen truck at a rest stop, and then for an hour, we were being tailed by an Evergreen truck.
Damn.
They're on to you.
They know.
They know. You sabotaged the canal. But yeah, let's get into map projections.
Unfortunately, there was not a thing in game.
I sank the ship.
About
it was me.
It was you. You were the captain.
He is responsible.
Why did you do it, Jam? Why did you do it?
I needed higher gas prices for my investment.
Oh yeah, wow. That's fun.
All right. Map projections.
Paul,
so map projections are very interesting, and they stem from the basic problem that it is literally impossible to accurately map a globe, a sphere, the surface of a sphere, on a flat surface. It is mathematically impossible. Something has to happen. Something has to get distorted. Something has to get broken. It just can't happen like you could get a net of a shape. Like a cube, right? A cube, it gives you that little T, and you can know if you have a drawing drawn on the surface of a cube, you can flatten it out and see exactly what it looks like. But that is impossible with a sphere. So all of the map projections that you see are inaccurate in different ways. And the question is, which inaccuracies do you detest the most, which the least, which do you care about, which don't you care about? That is what leads to the decision on what kind of map projection you are going to use. So shall we get started?
We shall. We start with the most well-known, I would say.
My map.
Your map.
Mike McCarthy. His map.
McCarthy projection.
Yeah, the McCarthy projection.
Me getting docs protection.
Yes.
You already have it. Your name is I hate to break it to you, but your name is Jam McCarthy 1975 on YouTube.
Do you plug my YouTube and not my Twitch? It's so upsetting.
No, like when you're in chat, we're saying.
When you're in chat, yeah.
No.
Anyway. So don't worry. I think people just get you mixed up with that 1950s senator, right?
Yeah.
Very common name. Anyway, so
to get me mixed up with the Green Bay Packers coach, Mike McCarthy.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
They also get me mixed up with the guy who killed his daughter, Mike McCarthy.
Ooh.
There's a lot of people named Mike and McCarthy.
Yeah.
Who have done very good things and very bad things.
Dang. Anyway, so this is the Mercator projection. And the way that the Mercator projection is generated is fairly interesting. So what happens is you have the Earth, which is a sphere, and imagine you superimpose a cylinder that is infinitely tall but has the radius that is equal to the Earth's radius, and you superimpose that around the Earth. So now you can imagine you have a sphere with a cylinder around it. So the process for mapping a point from the sphere onto the cylinder is that you start at the center of the sphere and draw a straight line outwards. So wherever on the surface of the sphere this line intersects, that point will be mapped at the intersection of the line and the cylinder somewhere else. And what that means is that, in effect, every Mercator projection image you have seen is actually cropped, because if it weren't cropped, it would go on to infinity. It would go infinitely north and infinitely south. And the reason for that is that as you approach the North Pole, the angle of the line that you're going to have to draw is going to get higher and higher until eventually it is nearly parallel with the axis of the cylinder. And that's just interesting because theoretically, an accurate Mercator projection, you would look up and eventually you could see the individual atoms around the North Pole, right? All stretched out and distorted due to this kind of distortion. So that is why every Mercator projection is cropped. But what it also leads to is a inflating effect. The farther away you are from the equator, the larger your country will appear. And it's actually inaccurate. If you look here, it looks like Greenland is about the same size as Africa. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, Greenland is
Greenland
always
is ridiculously big here.
Yeah, it's always the one that is categorized, or it's always the most iconic one that's stretched. Like with Russia, Russia's big. Don't get me wrong; it's the biggest country, but
it's also not as easily defined. Like you can't really see the border as well. Whereas Greenland, you're like, okay, it's an island. Actually, let's see. I've propped out Greenland here, and let's slide it next to Africa. Look at that.
Do you need me to present? Yeah.
Yeah. Look at that. Greenland on this map is really just about the size of Africa, and that is actually inaccurate. Greenland is about 1/14 as large as Africa.
Greenland is about the size of Saudi Arabia, which is, oh wow! For the first time, because it's not capturing my cursor, I can't gesture.
Oh yes. The downfall.
Saudi Arabia is the country right above the Horn of Africa.
Yep.
So
it's the Arabian Peninsula.
Yeah.
At the, eastern end of the Mediterranean Sea. That's like the accurate size of Greenland.
Which means that it's like smaller than America as well.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Greenland's about as big as America on this map. So just all around, the Mercator projection results in ridiculous distortions of size approaching the North Pole. One of its main benefits is that straight line on the Mercator projection map is also a straight line on the globe. It's useful for navigation. I'm not exactly phrasing that right, but basically, if on the Mercator projection, it won't necessarily be the most efficient path, but it can give you the proper heading. So it can tell you, you need to travel 273 degrees west, right? And you can head in that straight line using the Mercator map projection. And it will get you where you're going eventually. So that is just a sort of interesting thing. So the Mercator is useful for navigation. That's why the Mercator projection is the map used by Google Maps, unless they're using a globe. They do sort of both. I don't know what determines, like sometimes I pull up Google Maps and it's not giving me the globe and I'm like, I want the globe, but they're giving me the Mercator and I'm like, okay, I guess I'll have to deal with this. But yeah, it's the most popular map projection. It makes sense. I think Mercator himself was an explorer, right?
Yeah.
Like he was an age of exploration explorer guy. So that is the main purpose of this map. So yeah.
Yeah. Then we get to Gall-Peters.
Yes, the Gall-Peters. I don't like this projection.
I don't like it. It's unsettling.
Yeah. So the way this one works is actually kind of similar to the Mercator, but also kind of different. So you have your sphere and you have your cylinder again, right? Except now the lines that you draw, instead of starting from the center of Earth and going straight outwards, you draw an axis down the middle of Earth. And your lines have to be perpendicular to that axis. So they go straight out. And so you can see what the results of that are. As you get very close to the North Pole, the lines are going to be very flat because, you know, if you're very close to the North Pole, you could go, say, 100 miles out and only be 10 miles lower than you were before, or any arbitrary value, right? Like whatever it is, whatever the curvature of the Earth is, right? And so that means that you'll get these really, and also because you're projecting outwards, it gets stretched. So it gets stretched and flattened. And what that does is it actually creates an accurate area for each of these countries, but an inaccurate shape. So each country on the Gall-Peters projection is as big as it should be in terms of land area. Like relative to each other, they have the appropriate land areas, which the Mercator lacks. However, just the sort of crowding near the North Pole, it almost looks like, I don't know, it looks like when I'm writing on a paper and I run out of space at the end. And I'm like, can I squeeze this in? You know, when you run out of space, it's unpleasant. I don't like it. I'm not a fan of the Gall-Peters projection. Doesn't get the seal of approval.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of this one. Mike, what are your thoughts on this one?
That's all it gets from me.
Yeah, it gets the official nah from.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's just
if someone says yeah, then they're wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what it is useful for is giving you an accurate picture of the size of countries relative to one another. But that's about it. It's also just interesting the mathematical ways that these are made.
South America looks like when you like crop some celebrity, so like you crop like out their midsection, so you just put like their torso on their legs and you make their head big.
Yeah.
And you're like, Mom said it's my turn on the Xbox.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, because I guess we have an inaccurate picture of how large like Argentina is.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's Gall-Peters. It's like it is what it is.
The absolute gall of Peter to present.
Yeah,
Ridiculous.
exactly.
But anyways,
All right.
Malwide? Malvide?
Mall-wide.
Malwide?
Mall-wide.
Yeah.
That's what I've been saying. Mall-wide. I'll call it mall-wide. So the way that this is determined is just sort of like you cut around the international date line and then just sort of try and flatten it out onto a table. And of course, that's not possible. So the way that they do it is that each latitude line is like, so if you are to draw a latitude line, it will be like not as long as the equator. It's hard to explain this, but if you were to go around the equator, have a length of about 40,000 kilometers. But if you go 60 degrees north and draw the line around 60 degrees north, that will be 20,000 kilometers in length. So what the mall-wide does is it says, okay, everything on this straight line of the equator is going to be mapped from 0 to 40,000 kilometers. And then, of course, it's scaled down. So, 0 to 40 centimeters, right? Say it's like a table map. Anything at 60 degrees north is going to be mapped from, 10 to 30 because it's only 20 centimeters long, right? So it accurately, it gives you an accurate length for each latitude, and then objects are mapped across it. And what this does, it produces equal areas, just like the Gall-Peters did. And I think it does it in a much more pleasant way, personally. I prefer this. It gives you equal areas that aren't squashed and stretched, but it does do the slant, right? The result of this is that, yeah, the farther away you get from the prime meridian, the more slanted and like distorted your country is going to look. However, again, it'll be correct areas, and it gives you an accurate picture of what a circumnavigation looks like at every single latitude, which is a sort of interesting thing to think about. And it sort of reflects the spherical nature of the world because it is elliptical. It's a ellipse, 2 by 1. Its semi-major axis is twice as long as its semi-minor axis. So yeah.
How are we feeling about this one, guys?
I like it. I don't mind.
It makes sense to me. It's like the Earth, it's curved.
It's the better Gall-Peters.
Yeah.
It's better Gall-Peters. I think what Mall-Wide definitely benefits from, though, is the fact that the Pacific Ocean is just this massive empty space. Because if you were to sort of flip this around, things would look a lot more distorted. Let's see if I can find Mall-Wide.
Look way too far away in terms of Pacific. And you got little Hawaii there. Like, it's like, what? Hawaii's the only one on the left side? What?
Yeah, it distorts things. That's the problem here. It curves things around and distorts things, which is just kind of weird. But, yeah, like look at this. This is a Mall-Wide centered on the Americas. And you can see the effects that it has on, Europe and Africa and stuff. So that's the only issue with it, but it's not really an issue because they just center it, on England, and it looks fine.
Yeah.
They center it on Greenwich.
Because it's also hard to pick out individual countries, like, in that map, Like, that are on the sides.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, look at that. That is just sort of unpleasant. Like this new one that I put in here, centered on the Americas.
Yeah.
Like, it really does mess things up. It would be hard to identify, say, the countries of Europe, right? Like, that's the problem with it. However, again, if we go back to the original one here, it doesn't look that bad. And that is largely thanks to the Pacific Ocean. But if you're to look at, say, like Alaska, look at Alaska there. That is pretty messed up.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I like it. I think it's a pretty good map projection.
Mike, how are you feeling about this one?
It's Molly-wide still, right? Yeah, I already said what I thought.
All right.
I was going to say, like, did we switch off Molly-wide?
No, we did not.
Not yet.
The Pacific Ocean too big.
Too big?
Yep.
Too big.
But Pacific Ocean big, Mike.
So was the Atlantic, but you don't see me squeezing it together. I mean, expanding it out. Listen,
A fair point from the philosopher himself.
The philosopher, yes. Yeah. So let's go to the next one.
Robinson. This one's nice. This one's so nice.
Look at the Robinson projection. So the Robinson is what's known as a compromise projection. So the mathematics are a bit more complicated than anything I described previously. It's like a complex algorithm that they use to try and balance different sources of error. So as you can see here, it's like part Mollwide and part Gall-Peters, and I think it's also part Mercator. So yeah, it's nice. It's nice.
Gonna say, this one looks exactly the same, and I realized it's not. It's wider at the top.
Yeah. So the Robinson doesn't completely come together at the poles like it should if this were an ellipse mapped of the Earth, right? Like the Mollwide. But at the same time, you don't really get as bad of a squashing effect from the Gall-Peters. And I think Greenland is a bit too big in this version, but it's not ridiculous, right? So it's like it's the happy medium. It's beautiful.
This is the best one so far.
This is the best one. This is just, in terms of trying to get an accurate picture in your mind of what does our world look like, this is, I think, the best map projection to use.
I just looked ahead. I don't know what this one is, but I think you know which one I'm talking about. Why I'm confused.
Which one?
It's like 2 down. It's the really wonky.
We'll get to it. We'll get to it.
I'm so confused.
So it's sort of interesting to think about compromise projections here, because one issue I would say with the compromise projections is that they don't stem from a simple mathematical formula, which is, it would be ideal to have a simple formula behind your map making, right? Like, even though the result of the Gall-Peters is like, the math behind it is actually pretty nice, don't you think? You're basically slicing the Earth into infinitely many circles from North Pole to South Pole, and then expanding those circles out to be of equal length. Like, that's a pretty simple mathematical concept. Mm-hmm. And it gives you an idea, it describes the distortion well, too. Because when you look at that with the context of this is how it was made, and you understand that, you can say, like, okay, so I understand what this actually looks like. But it's harder to get that with the Robinson projection. However, since the Robinson is just more, reflective of reality, and since it is less distorted, it doesn't really, matter as much. Like, this is the kind of map I would recommend for a classroom. You know what I mean? Like, it works. It's good.
Yeah,
I like it.
I'd say so. I'm trying to think, like, what maps are around the classroom. Like, usually there are just globes, but you
got globes, but
I'm talking about like you get the teacher, they pull down on that thing.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think what projection.
My history teacher has like a thing he just pulls down like 15 maps, and it's like different at the time.
I think they usually have.
They're all
either Robinson or Mercator. Yeah, sometimes I've seen a Gall-Peters, and it makes me clench my fists and I go, Gall-Peters, get that head. But yeah, I feel bad hating on the Gall-Peters because I really like the mathematics behind it. But alas, it just does not look good, the result. So yeah, this is just nice, the Robinson projection. Makes everyone happy. It's rare for compromises. Usually compromises just leaves everyone unhappy, right? That's the old saying about compromises. But I would say this just leaves everyone happy.
Yeah.
I love this thing. Look at it. Yeah. So anyway, those are the mainstream.
Oh my god, you see the one below that one.
Michael, you're going to have fun.
Dude, what's the point? How do you, okay, picture this. You're traveling.
Wait, just wait.
Right? You're traveling through the ocean. You're trying to look at this map, and all of a sudden you're like, where am I supposed to go if there's a big blank space in between?
We'll get to
so
it. We'll get to it. We'll get to it.
We'll
get to it.
We'll get to it.
So these are the mainstream ones. Now let's go into some more odd
underground ones.
Map projections. Yeah, the more interesting, sort of unusual ones.
This one I don't like. This one, man.
Let's begin. The azimuthal equidistant.
I don't like it.
So you may know this flag from the UN logo, and then unfortunately from flat earthers. This is what they genuinely believe the world looks like from above.
I mean, it's pretty accurate. You can't lie.
It basically just reflects the fact that the obvious question here is why center it at the North Pole? Like, it's equally valid to center it at the South Pole. But the reason is that 90% of people live in the Northern Hemisphere. So naturally, when you get flat earthers coming out, they'll be like, oh, it's like the North Pole. Because basically, the thing with this map is that what you do to generate this map, it's another simple mathematical sort of thing, is you say, how far away from the North Pole is this point on the planet? And however far away it is, that's where you put it on the map. And so what that does is that stretches out all the nations of the Southern Hemisphere. As you get farther and farther away, just the curvature of the Earth is, getting torn apart and peeled back until the South Pole itself is stretched out into this huge circle. So it's stretched by an infinite amount, right? So it's sort of weird. However, you will often see a sort of cropped version of this azimuthal equidistant when people are focusing on the North Pole. And that actually makes sense, right? You'll get, say, like some documentary about, ice in the Arctic Circle, and they'll use this map. And that is perfectly fair because all the other maps distort the North and South poles quite a bit, right? So if you're going to be focusing on one of the poles, it makes sense to do an azimuthal equidistant map. And of course, just as there is a northern-centric azimuthal map, you also have a southern-centric. Let me see if I can find a southern-centric azimuthal equidistant just to show you guys what that would look like. Yeah, it looks ridiculous. You can tell why You can tell why the flat earthers chose the other one. It's like, look at this thing, because this one is so obviously disproven.
Oh,
this right? Look at that.
Oh God. Oh,
welcome to Earth, where Alaska is on the opposite side of the world from Newfoundland. Like, no, that is not how North America looks. That is not how Europe, or like, look at Russia. Oh my God, Russia literally it's ridiculous.
It is
ridiculous,
half the globe,
right? But remember, these two projections are generated using the exact same mathematical process. The northern-centric azimuthal equidistant is equally as ridiculous as the southern azimuthal equidistant. It's just in the northern one, all you're looking at is ocean for the most part. For the most part, it is just ocean and Antarctica getting distorted. And Antarctica is always distorted on maps, so you can accept that. And the ocean is just the ocean. You can't really tell that it's distorted. So the azimuthal equidistant looks reasonable. But remember, you must remember, it is equally as ridiculous as this other azimuthal equidistant centered on the South Pole, right? But yeah. That's my rant on azimuthal equidistant.
Bad map.
Bad. It's interesting. It's supposed to represent like unity or whatever with the UN.
Gross.
Is that the point of it? That's disgusting.
Yeah, it's supposed to. The point of the map is that it's supposed to like not privilege any perspective, which it kind of fails at, because all the other maps we've shown have been Eurocentric. They start at the prime meridian. Because it's the prime meridian, right? but that's kind of arbitrary, and you could say it's Eurocentric. So they chose this map for the UN logo in an attempt to not be Eurocentric. However, they have been entirely, I guess you could say, Borealis-centric. They've been entirely North-centric, because look at what happens to the entire Southern Hemisphere. It just gets horribly distorted. Also, you may notice that Europe is the only upward-facing continent here. The prime meridian is still central here, right? The prime meridian is still facing upward. The original UN flag design was actually slightly different. It was about 90 degrees rotated, because the US was like, oh, we should be at the center. If you hit present and present again, look at this new azimuthal equidistant. That was the original UN logo, right? But they changed it because they're like, oh, we shouldn't privilege any one perspective, right? But then they did privilege one perspective. So it's just, it's a bad map in terms of its attempt
getting
at
offended over a map.
unity. Oh, this is important. This is the world's UN map, right? You gotta think about these things. They should have just made the flag like a spherical kite. Like those box kites. Make a spherical version of that and hang that from a flagpole. That should be the UN flag, just the globe. Wouldn't that be interesting? A three-dimensional map. What a nightmare, but also beautiful. But yeah, so that's azimuthal equidistant.
Horrible.
No,
it's not horrible.
Map, it would
just,
not be the map of choice.
Again, this is in terms. Right now, we're thinking, how well does this represent the whole world? But that doesn't necessarily have to be the purpose of the map. If you want to study the Arctic Circle, I would say any of the previous maps would be a very bad idea to use. Wouldn't you agree? If you were, right? If you're a researcher in Svalbard and you're like, I want to know what's around me.
I'll keep
None
that,
of
I'll
these
keep that
previous
in mind.
maps are very helpful.
Next time I'm a researcher in Svalbard.
Yeah, exactly. Or not even in Svalbard, researching Svalbard, right? Researching the polar ice cap, right? That's like a area of focus recently, with like ice melting and stuff like that. These are the maps that you would want to use if you are a researcher there. So, like if you zoom in on the North Pole, this gives you a very nice, accurate picture. This tells you, okay, this is the Arctic Circle. This is what we are trying to conserve. This is what we are trying to study. It's very useful. But otherwise, for the whole world, it is not a good idea for that to be your world map. So yeah, that's the caveat. It's like a scalpel won't be useful every time in surgery. It's like if you want to have a variety of tools. That's what you're going for here. A variety of tools that each fit their specific situation. You're not going to find one tool that works for everything. That's what I think the point of this azimuthal equidistant map is.
Just as a heads up, I may have to head out at around 7 for Mother's Day related stuff.
Oh yes.
I just got informed of that.
All right. Yeah, we can speed it up a bit. I can also end stream even if, as long as you just leave OBS going.
But
yeah, no,
we'll
try
to change the slides though.
Yeah, you're right. So I will. Yeah, let's do this one. So let's go to the next one.
Yeah, we can still hit everything.
Let's go to the next one.
Stupidly distorted maps.
Tell me the one on the left doesn't look
Michael?
like. Yeah, Mike, let's hear it. What's he saying?
Let's hear it. What do you think?
Give me a simple second. Hold on, because my computer's acting.
We're on the good
Hamala
Hamala sign.
More like
It's the M1.
not good.
It's so dumb.
Hamala
Okay,
sign.
More like bad.
picture this. You're Christopher Columbus, all right? After you hit America, right? You're trying to get back home.
Okay.
You're using this map. So you had to travel through South America, then back up the coast. But you could have just gone on a straight line. That's such a useless map.
So the interesting thing about this map is that you can think of it like an orange peel. Imagine the Earth as an orange, and you're like peeling it, right? And it gives you this sort of flat Earth thing that you can get. What the goal of this map is that it's trying to give you the least distortions possible.
Give me the most distortions.
So, no, you see, it's not distorted, it's cut. There's a difference there, right?
Making me confused. Distorted.
If you okay, distorted is like stretched, right?
Yeah.
Stretched or squashed. This map, to a certain extent, minimizes that and instead goes for many cuts. I mean, again, if you think about it, every map has at least one cut. These previous ones should be cylinders, but they cut the cylinder and unfurled it so that you could get a flat map, right? What this does is it increases the amount of cuts so that you can get more accurately shaped maps. So this is a useful map for land travel, right? Say you are Lewis and Clark, right? This would be a useful map. You're going out on the frontier. You don't care. Yeah. No, Sebastian's Lewis, Jam can be Clark. There you go. You guys, you're venturing out, right? You don't care about what the ocean looks like. Whatever. Who cares? You care about what the land looks like. That's the use of this map. Every map has a purpose. That's the message here. You know?
Jam, what would you rate this? Would you rate this out of 10?
Dude, if I was using this map, okay, and I wanted to go to Europe, I'd rate it a simple 1 of 10. Because at least it shows Europe and therefore gets a singular point. Okay? Now, if I was traveling on land, okay, I'd give it a 2 out of 10.
Yeah.
You want to know why? Okay?
Why?
Because, like, I don't want to be looking at a map. It looks like an M.
Okay.
I'm just upset by that.
Yeah.
I mean, if you had to rate it 2, would you want to use this?
I would not.
I would not either. Therefore, it gets a simple 2 out of 10.
I think there's a purpose. I think there's a purpose, though. I think there is at least one useful purpose. I just can't really think of it right now. The land. If you're focusing on the land, that's what I'm going with. If you're focusing on land,
and this land is my
that's land. Where it's useful. Yeah. There you go. The good Hamal side. Next one, you're not gonna be too jazzed with either.
Yeah, I know. I saw the next for a brief second, and I was just like, "What is going on?"
Should we? Let's go to the next slide.
We're on the next slide.
Like one of those things, you know, those things you could buy like in a store. You just gotta fold it. It's like a paper thing. You just gotta fold it so it makes.
Yeah.
This is literally that. Yeah, you just unfolded the earth.
Yeah, exactly.
You are God. That is what this makes.
Well, what's interesting is this map is actually a very good representation of early human migration. So, here, wait. I will draw a little curve. So humans started in like Ethiopia, right?
Mm-hmm.
This map is a very good map for outlining the path that early humans took. I am drawing it right now. Just give me a sec. Here we go. Jeez. Guys. Okay. I've been looking at the screen for too long. Dang. All this online school is getting to me. But look at this. Look at the path of humanity. Are you are you done present or get out of present? But
yeah. We can see it.
Yeah, look at that. What do you think? That's the path humans took.
I think if teacher asked me to use this for reference, I would have a stroke. Like on
reference
site.
For what though? Reference for what?
Trying to draw the globe. We're trying to draw the globe, right? And I need a reference.
Anything.
This is the worst representation, excluding the M.
What if the teacher asked? I want you to, draw the path of human migration. Early human spread across the globe. I want you to
put lines on it. I don't need.
I want you to tell
a
me where
normal
Germany
map.
got to first.
I don't need.
I would get a
different
normal
pieces.
map.
I don't need 8 different pieces to
Listen,
show
it's
how
useful.
walked.
It's useful. It is non-distorted. It just cuts out pieces of the ocean. It just makes cuts across the ocean.
Yeah,
It cuts the ocean, but it's not distorted.
It throws
Remember
off
earlier when
my
I was saying
equilibrium.
how? Remember earlier when I was saying how you could how if everyone thought it was 2020, then it would be 2020. Yeah, well, if everyone thought this was a map, everyone would be very confused. But it would still be on the map, and it's just dumb. So that's my point.
All right.
Dumb map doesn't exist, not real, fake news.
Thank you. It is a dumb map. I don't care. Path of human. Like, I don't care. When I'm using a map, I'm trying to go somewhere. I'm worried about my path of travel. I'm not worried about...
I'm telling you, there are different purposes for a map.
You know,
there are different things you might use a map for.
The best map is. I'm going to bring up this map and say, just because it is. And he's going to be like, why do you think this is the best? I'm like, I don't know. It just is. Because it shows the path of human migration. No one cares.
Yes. Okay, but even if you were trying to use it for path of human migration, and they start in Ethiopia, all right, now find Ethiopia. I have to rotate this thing and do some serious investigation to find Ethiopia.
Picture this, right? You're looking for Ethiopia. You can't find it. Ethiopia just doesn't exist anymore.
Like I know it's the Horn, so it's kind of easier to see, but
yeah, I know exactly where it is. Well, let's say this had country borders on it. I mean,
picture this: in a world where
none of these have had country borders on it.
The main map. This is the world.
I'm not suggesting that this be.
No, I'm just saying.
We're arguing different things here. We're arguing different.
Imagine if this is the world, it was just officially made the world's main map.
Mm-hmm. All
right, and you're on a history. You're on a geography test, right? And you're told.
I would oppose it.
Find a country in Africa. I don't know what the country is because
Ethiopia.
There's a lot of countries in Africa. I'm being attacked. Texas Roadhouse, baby.
What?
Oh my God! This turtle just murdered a raptor.
What?
Ah!
Okay.
A baby raptor.
Michael,
Alright, well, okay. So Mike's having fun.
I'm having hallucinations.
Yeah, I'm like, he is hallucinating majorly here. Okay, anyway, my argument is not that this is the end-all and be-all of maps. My argument is that it serves a specific purpose.
Fine. We'll concede.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
After this, so do you know when this map was made?
I do not know.
I can find out right now.
Look it up for me, okay? Here's my second.
All right.
Okay? Picture this. You're a historian, okay?
Yes.
And you're being told.
1980.
How many? 1980. Who would make a map like that in 1980?
Right here, wait. Another one says 1943.
Yeah, the original was 1943.
The map distorts the world. The map is distorting the world.
The original was 1943.
Yes.
So, okay.
But the one we're looking at right now is 1980.
How many people are actually going to use this map and be like, wow, I'm satisfied I could look at a map like this? No one. It's useless. There's no reason behind it.
It is not useless.
It is completely useless. Just draw a bunch of lines, and there you go. There you go. You win. You win.
Okay,
you win.
At least it's better. It's better than. Let me pull this up for you. They have an ocean-centric one, too, but that serves a purpose.
It's just. I mean, think about it. Think about it logistically.
Purpose for ocean.
You have.
Look at this. It's so
South America flipped and backwards above Africa.
Okay.
Let's talk about that for a second. That is just
the next map.
It's just this map. Bugged.
Yo, what's wrong with this map now? That map looks bugging.
Oh,
this is the.
Bugging.
Let's
well, it kind of gets mixed up. Here's the ocean centric. It's kind of clashing with the.
Oh my God.
Dude, this is the world map now. This is the one world map. Why is Africa in South America? Something ain't right there.
I feel like this is like a Rorschach test. Like you look at the Dymaxion projection and the person's like, what do you see? Well, I certainly don't see Ethiopia. That's certainly what I don't see.
Why is okay? So South America and
Yeah,
Africa get like a split through them. America's just gone.
Yep. And
I don't see America.
they all get
Australia
split
is a
through
tip.
them. 'Cause this is
America
ocean
is
country.
new. Dude, imagine if our world
Anyway,
shaped
it's unimportant.
like
What
picture-
if the flat earthers are right, except it's the Dymaxion map?
Oh, nightmare.
picture this, okay?
Yeah.
Another
It's the
picture
darkest
this,
timeline.
okay?
The darkest.
Picture this, okay? You're walking around. You're on that part of South America that gets split in half. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, the world goes from being the regular globe to that map.
Okay.
And you are on the
Base with a
split.
giant cliff.
You are on the split. What are you looking at? What do you think you would be looking at?
The void.
The void, yeah.
So, how do you think people will get around the void without going
Walk.
around the void?
You have to go around.
You
Or
can't
they
go-
could put in like zip lines. How about that?
I like that answer. Zip line over the void. Why would
Yeah.
you fall in?
Zip line over the void for like 1,000 miles. Yeah.
That would be a journey. Like,
Yeah.
yeesh.
No, that would be a
They
thrill
would have to
seeker.
be motorized too. Imagine if your zip line fails.
Oh. Dude, tell me there wouldn't be creatures in that void, like little flying raptors that you would see, like, floating in
nice.
the mist and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I
You try to
would
take a plane
say-
across it, and it's like legend has it, no plane goes through, right?
Mm.
That's why we
Ominous.
use motorized zip lines instead.
There's a
Yeah, that
Denny's.
is actually like it's like a Terry Pratchett novel. Except instead of the Disc world, it gives you
Yeah.
the Dymaxion world, and you've got these. Anyway, let's listen to the next one here.
Wow.
So here we've got southern variants, and so this applies to generally all of the ones we've shown here, except this is the Robinson, just because Robinson is the best map. So yeah, that's southern variant. There's no reason why the north should be on top.
True,
It's all we're all just floating in space.
You know, if I wanted
There
to
is
look
no
at the map
up or
and it was in
down.
South America, this would be the map to use. Because I'm in South America. You
Yeah.
know, it's a 10 out of 10 map.
Exactly.
There's a perfectly good reason to have this.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
upside down.
exactly.
I need help.
Basically the reason that you get pretty much all the maps are north facing is that like 90% of the population lives in the northern hemisphere, and a vast majority of the land is also in the northern hemisphere. So it just sort of makes sense in terms of like who's this most applicable to. But again, this is just as valid. It's just a different perspective.
Yeah.
What do you think about the southern variants?
I just watched a turtle get decimated.
I like the southern variant as a Muthal just because it's hilarious.
Bro,
It's-
there's no point to it.
it's
too.
like
Some of these
the-
maps just have no point.
It's like the fisheye
Some
distortion.
of them they have a point.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
What is that map? Okay, what
They have
purpose?
a point.
South, like, what's south? Antarctica? No.
Yes.
I don't know, whatever.
What?
Yes.
Antarctica south, right? Yeah.
Antarctica South.
Is that
Yes.
the only point to this map?
Well,
To
the
study
point
Antarctica.
of this map is like, think about it. Like, Australia is upside down. This is the map they would use.
I think they still use
You're
a normal one. in
Large,
Australia,
large,
but
like.
the point is to step back from your own perspective. That's what the point of this is. The point of this is to say, different perspectives exist and are equally as valid. They might not be equally as useful, but they are of equal truth.
lies.
Equal
False.
weight. This
False.
map projection is equally as not relevant, but it's equally as mathematically sound as any of the map projections we've seen before. It's just that it isn't necessarily as useful. That's all it is with all of these things.
Mm.
And it
Still not
depends
used
what
to it.
your
I'm not
use is. What is your use? I mean, yeah, it depends. It depends.
Okay,
Again,
if I was
as a
regular
Muthal,
person- if I was a regular
Yeah.
person looking at a map, none of these maps,
Mhm.
except the Robinson one, would be useful. Like,
Really?
I
Really?
don't need to look at
what about
myself.
like Mercator and Gall-Peters?
Whatever
Okay,
the,
this is
whatever the
upside-
good one. That was the
This is
Robinson.
an upside down. This isn't upside down. This is just a cultural thing.
It's upside down.
It only looks weird. It only looks weird to you because everyone agrees it's not upside down.
As I said
It is not
before,
objectively upside down.
if everyone says something is this way, then it's that way.
Okay.
In this case, it actually applies to that because just like,
Yeah.
are we floating around upside down the entire time? No.
Well, there is no
Floating
up or
nowhere.
down.
There is no up or
space.
down. For
Yeah,
us,
exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to say here.
Are just in north and south, and therefore the map should just be north and south, not south and north.
Okay, but like,
That's what I'm saying.
say that there's like, I don't know, like a reset, right? Say that there's like a nuclear apocalypse, right?
And then everyone says south. That's what
The
I was
next,
like. No.
yeah, the next set of humans might be like, oh yeah, it's south. And then if you were to like go 1,000 years in the future, you'd see all these upside down projections, and you'd be like, why are all your projections upside down?
Exactly. That's why
they'd say, what do you mean? And you'd flip it back up.
Here's the thing. That's not now. Therefore, the map is irrelevant and not needed.
Yeah.
It will never be needed.
I will agree. It might be irrelevant.
It is.
It's just, yeah.
You
all
can
right.
never
there we go.
disagree with me on this.
I'm just saying it's still equally mathematically sound.
Mathematically, maybe, but prospectively, no.
It's just not useful. That's what it is. Anyway, let's go to the next one. I just don't want to run out of time here.
Globular.
Look at this. Nicolosi globular. I like this one because it's a map that we showed earlier, but updated. That Age of Exploration map. This one gives you the whole Eastern Hemisphere, Western Hemisphere dichotomy, old world, new worlds type of thing, which is sort of fun. I love that. And it's basically an updated version of that historical map. Isn't it interesting? It's very similar to the mall-wide map, except what they do is instead of having one central point, you have two central points. And what that does is it makes it so that like it's less distorted in certain ways. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's nice.
See, this map could be useful, excluding the fact that if I wanted to get from America to Europe, it would be very challenging.
The void.
Like, if I didn't know anything about America and Europe, like, I would be like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Totally racist to that.
But again, if you are just staying within one hemisphere,
then it would be useful.
It could be pretty useful. Yeah. Say that you're exploring the Pacific. Look at all that Pacific right there to the left.
So beautiful.
Say you wanted to get from like Mexico to New Zealand. Very useful map here. Anyway, I just like it. Nicolosi globular. I like the name too. But yeah, that's about
Like glob.
to say about that.
Yeah.
All right. So now we get to the final map.
Globe.
And I won't say map projection because it's not a projection. It just is. It's the globe. The globe is the most accurate map of the world. And that is undisputed. The problem with it is that it is inconvenient because it is an actual sphere. But the globe might see a resurgence. In the old days, right, if you want a perfectly accurate globe map, you have to get a giant sphere, and that's cumbersome. You can't, put that in your folder and like carry it with you. But now that everything is digital, you can put a digital file of an interactive sphere into your computer hard drive. The digital age has led to the resurgence of the globe, and it is beautiful. So yeah, the globe is the best map.
The Industrial Revolution and its consequences.
Oh no. The digital revolution and its consequences.
Mike, what do you think about this one?
I mean, it's the globe. It's someone I know.
Yeah.
I don't think I need to say anything bad about it because, like, I got a computer and I got Google. Therefore, Google Globe.
Yeah. Very high quality.
Sponsored.
Yep. Nice. All right then. So let's go to the next.
People are gonna be like, "Can I get a free sponsorship from them?" And then no, you get sued.
Oh, that would be nice. Oh yeah, yes. Includes paid sponsorship. This does not include paid We don't have any sponsors,
I'm
unfortunately.
the one supplying. As always.
Who would you most want to sponsor us out of any brand? Who would you want?
What brand?
Tesla.
SpaceX. Yeah.
SpaceX.
Yeah. I think I would want SpaceX.
Elon Musk
to sponsor us.
If a
Elon's
restaurant was going to sponsor us
brand.
for some reason, what restaurant?
A restaurant.
I know a place down the road. I like them.
I'm
not saying the name is they are one of a kind, and therefore I am doxing myself.
Okay.
Gotta think about this. I'd say the Melting Pot.
Melting Pot, yes.
I love that place. I was just there, so it's in my mind. But I
was
do
it
love
good?
That.
Was it good?
Fondue. Yes, it was good. It was very good. Yeah, it was great.
All right, but anyways, oddities.
Yeah. So there are some interesting sort of odd little factoids that we have here about mapping. So many maps are political maps, and what that means is that they display political borders. And the problem with that is that politics is political. Political borders are not agreed upon, so that leads to some issues. So that's the first oddity here, political disagreements. And the most egregious one, the most significant one, I guess you could say, is this three-way standoff between Pakistan, India, and China, which I will remind you are all nuclear possessing countries. So rest easy, right? So there is this area called Jammu and Kashmir. And, both India and Pakistan claim it. And right next to it, you've got overlapping territorial claims. And I think there's one point, actually. I think it's the Shaksgam Valley is a small little strip where India, Pakistan, and China all claim. It's crazy. It really is. It's just crazy to look at. But then you've got, northern areas and the Jammu and Kashmir, which is this big conflict between Indian claims and Pakistani claims. And then you've got the Aksai Chin, which is a, Chinese-Indian dispute. Wasn't there recently, like about a couple months ago, there was fire exchanged between China and India up in that area. It's dicey. It's dicey.
Yeah, it's super tense.
Didn't two countries start fighting and then they were like, nah, never mind.
Nah, never mind.
They shot at
India. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Fire was exchanged between Indian and Chinese forces in this area. It's a tense area, and it just always gets me that these are three nuclear powers. It's not fun vibes. But yeah, you can sort of see just this web of conflict. There's other problems when you have an area that wants to become independent of its country, the country obviously isn't going to recognize that. But then the international community sometimes does. I think the newest country actually is Kosovo. Have you heard about that? Either of you? For the longest time in my mind, it was the newest country is South Sudan. But recently, I think Kosovo, I don't know what happened. I don't know the whole situation with Kosovo, but I think it was recently just recognized as a country.
Yes.
In Eastern Europe, it broke off from, where did it break off? Here,
Serbia.
I'm going to pull up Google Maps. Yeah, Serbia. It broke off from Serbia, and so Serbia's obviously not happy about that. They would rather it stay part of the country.
Although the United States and most members of the EU recognized Kosovo's declaration of independence from Serbia in 2008, Serbia, Russia, and a significant number of other countries, including several EU members, did not. Given this lack of international consensus, Kosovo was not immediately admitted to the UN. In 2010, the International Court of Justice ruled that Kosovo, however you say it, Declaration of Independence did not violate international law, but Serbia rejected that decision. So I guess it's up in the air.
Mm-hmm. Well, so the basic problem, and this is really interesting, the UN has 5 leaders, and that is America, UK, France, Russia, and China. And you may think that's an odd mix, right? Aren't some of these countries enemies with each other? Well, at the time that it was created, like right after World War II, were the Allied powers. So from that lens, it's instantly understandable. It's the 5 main Allied powers were like, okay, let's make some governing body to prevent this from happening again, right? So, but what that means is that China and Russia have a lot of power in the UN relative to other countries, and that allows them to sort of exert control. You've got a ton of countries that are like not recognized because they basically have veto power. All of those 5 countries I just mentioned have veto power. So you have like Palestine is not recognized by the UN because the US uses its veto power against it. But then on the other hand, you have Kosovo is also not recognized by the UN because China and Russia use their veto power against it. So that's the dichotomy. That's what happens. So that's interesting, right? But yeah, again, political disagreements. What is a country? It's hard to define because it's like, if I say I'm a country, like right now, if I say like this house is now my own country, well, is it like other people have to recognize that? That's what sort of makes a country. It's really interesting. Because again, it's like sort of all about perspective in a way, although it's also about, can you actually keep control of the area? And I would say trouble is when you have a region that has its own government and is under its own control and has its own army and stuff like that, and is actually administering itself, but then the country that it used to be a part of is still like, no, it's still part of the country. It's just like, come on. We know you can't fool yourself.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, come on, this is just embarrassing for both of us here. But yeah, so that's just sort of interesting looking at all these borders. Oh, and then again, you have to the east, you have the Arunachal Pradesh, which is another part of India or China that are in conflict with each other. So this could cause some major issues in the future because I'm pretty sure India it's an American ally. And I mean, there was just recently, again, as we said, gunfire exchange between the 2 nations. So that is a concern. But yeah, so let's go to the next one. Next, we have terra nullius, which is the term for unclaimed land. And so the 2 areas of unclaimed land is this red swatch of Antarctica and this gray swatch between Egypt and Sudan.
That's
So that's just sort of interesting. To the right, it's Antarctica.
Isn't that the North Pole?
Yeah. No.
It looks like the North Pole.
Are you on the same slide? Terra nullius?
Yeah.
That's Antarctica. I don't know what to tell you.
Do both the North
Pole,
Pole and Antarctica have that tail coming off of it? Because that's usually how I differentiate the two.
I do not know there is no continent at the North Pole. The North Pole is just water.
Lies.
What do you
Stop
mean?
lying.
Are you punking me right now?
What do you mean, am I punking you right now?
Well, punk.
This is just Antarctica. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, why is it looking...
It does not.
What are you talking
like
about?
Antarctica. We're on the same slide, right? 26.
Yes, terra nullius. It looks like the North Pole. I'm just saying.
I agree. It does
do
look like
both
the
of them have the
I don't
tail
think it is.
coming off of them?
I don't care enough either.
Literally, just Google Antarctica. Go to images.
Like I don't doubt it. It's just usually
wait.
that's how I differentiate the
Antarctica map. Look up Antarctica map. There.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, yeah, that's what it looks. I didn't know they look so similar.
Yeah. Huh? Anyway, if you want to start a new country,
Here, Antarctica versus the North Pole.
Except there are a few caveats here, and so one of the caveats is that the first piece of terra nullius between Egypt and South Sudan is only terra nullius because of a border dispute where South Sudan says the border is in one place, Egypt says the border is in another place, and basically what happens is this green area of land is claimed by both nations, but in order to claim that green area of land, they have to unclaim the gray area of land. The green area is more valuable, so they're like, I don't want that stupid little gray nothingness. I'm going to take the green area of land. But if they were to ever sort out this dispute, then your little terra nullius micronation would be in some hot water with whichever country loses, right? So that's one caveat. And then...
Is there no land at the North Pole?
Yes! Yes,
what?
There is no land at the North Pole. It's just ice.
It's ice.
Well, no. I know that, that's what Antarctica is, but...
Well, there's actual land under the ice.
Oh, yeah, it's a continent. I thought there was like an actual formulative land mass at the North Pole that looked
there's lands near it.
Similar to this.
There's Greenland and Canada and Russia, but there is no Arctica. There is no Arctica.
I just didn't know that at all. Wow. I usually spend my time looking below it on the map.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that makes sense. That's I would say that's the fault of our map projections that we use.
I legitimately thought that there was like a land mass at the North Pole.
Yeah, exactly. So the second terra nullius here, the caveat here, is that this is called like St. Mary Bird's Land or something like that. And it is literally the coldest region of Antarctica. So first you got to deal with that. But secondly, you also have the Antarctic Treaty, which says no one is allowed to make any further claims on Antarctica except for the U.S. and Russia. So all the current claims are like ironed in. But then the U.S. and Russia are also allowed to make one claim.
Why is it just us?
What do you mean?
Why is it just us and Russia that are allowed to?
Well, because this treaty was made in, like, I don't know, the 60s or something, and we were like, we want one. We don't have anything down there. We want one. And Russia's like, we want that too. And we were the superpower, so we got what we wanted.
Did England say adios and not want one?
They already had one.
Oh.
Yeah.
What about France or China?
Argentina had one. China doesn't technically have anything, but that's another thing with the treaty, is the treaty says these claims are still claims, but other people are allowed to build bases there because it's the common heritage of mankind, even though you've made those claims, and we're not invalidating those claims, but Antarctica is still the common heritage of mankind, so then China's like, okay, it's the common heritage of mankind, so we'll build spaces there. Right? Is cool with everyone?
What in God's name was that? So did you hear that too, or is that me?
Yeah, I think the audio popped there, but it sounds all right now.
Oh, for me?
Yeah, just for a second.
Right. Was it incomprehensible? Do people understand what I'm saying?
People understood you. It's just like a beep.
Cool. Okay. Sorry about that. Anyway, that's terra nullius. Let's go to the next one, and this is cultural imprints. And so this is just about what countries do we think are big. These are all basically holdovers of the Mercator projection, and this is some stuff to put things in perspective for you. So let's look at this. Any of this surprise you? This is Alaska and Greenland compared to the mainland U.S., and then the mainland U.S. compared to Africa. Africa is a lot larger, I would say, than most people expect.
Yeah.
And that's because it's by the equator. That's the equatorial, disadvantage that the Mercator projection creates.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's simple as that.
Yeah.
For me, actually.
Yeah, go ahead.
I actually feel like Greenland is larger than I would have expected, because I feel like I almost have this like reverse cultural imprint where I feel like people are always saying Greenland isn't as big as you think it is, and so I keep underestimating it. But it goes like the full length of Greenland is longer than from Texas to North Dakota. So, like that's a large area. It's about as big as Alaska, our largest state. I think it might be bigger actually.
I can check.
It would be nice if we bought Greenland.
Yes.
Don't you want Greenland? I want Greenland.
I feel like that'd be a large waste of money.
Why?
Okay, picture this.
Nah, the oil, man. There's probably a lot of oil there.
Actually, good
We
point.
love that kind of
Good point,
stuff here.
actually.
Good point.
I didn't think of the oil.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Then maybe we can stop like
Greenland is about 1 1/3 the size of Alaska.
Alaska.
Yeah.
Dude, it would become the new biggest state.
It would.
We should totally Greenland. Yeah. It's part of Denmark right now.
It is.
There have been repeated attempts to buy Greenland. I think it would actually. I think Greenland is an appreciating asset. So this is just I'm going to say. I think the price of Greenland is going to go up over time. And here's a few reasons. Due to climate change and the shrinking ice shelf, the resources of Greenland are becoming more accessible. All the mining and oil that you could get there. Although, maybe it would be best if we didn't tap those resources, but again, just looking at economics, right? The value of that land is going to increase. Also, and this is also related to global warming, is that the Northwestern Passages, which is the sort of sea route that you could take through the islands of Canada, if you own both Greenland and Alaska, then you essentially control entry into the Northwestern Passages, which would be an advantage, because it's like another way to get from the Atlantic to the Pacific. So in terms of economic value, it would be a good idea to get Greenland because it is going to increase in value. Even though its increasing in value is entirely dependent on bad things happening in the world, but still, right? Because it's basically global warming makes Greenland a better place to live, which is kind of disappointing. It's a conflict between just ethical and monetary concerns. And generally the monetary concerns win out, don't they? So that is why I think Greenland will increase in value in the future. And I think it would be a good investment. But anyway, I digress.
He digresses.
Let's finish this off with a look at some extraterrestrial maps. We begin with the moon. Look at that.
Moon.
Does this make you uncomfortable, Michael?
Let's just say it's not the most pleasing.
It's weird to see the moon laid out like that, right? We've got the familiar face of the moon just looking at us. I think this is a Gall-Peters projection.
I would estimate it to be of that caliber.
Yeah. But what this map is really interesting in reflecting is how the back half of the moon is just so completely different from the front half. Essentially, you don't have those large mares, those dark, sea beds full of igneous rock, of basalt that used to be magma that solidified. You don't have that on the other side of the moon. It's weird to see it flat out like that. We're used to seeing just the circle. It's uncomfortable, but it's cool. It's cool. It's interesting. Imagine having to use this map. Imagine living on the moon, right?
Yeah.
This is just a sort of interesting perspective. But yeah, that's all I have to say about this.
Moon's cool. Like the moon. Big fan. Jim.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on the moon?
No. Big fan.
Blow it up.
That's great.
So moving on to
question. No.
What's your question?
Quick, right?
What's your question?
Yeah.
All right. So excluding the fact that it lights up the night, is there a use for the moon?
There is a use for the moon.
Yes.
It has tidal forces.
Creating life on Earth.
Yes.
There would not be life on Earth.
I kind of forgot about that part.
He forgot about that part. Anyway, let's look at Mars. Mars is sort of interesting. Here we have an elevation map of Mars. This is not what
Through
Mars
the
actually looks
Predator's
like, obviously.
eyes.
Yeah, kind of. So yeah, this is elevation map, and so this sort of displays the utility of an elevation map, because I can tell you, a map of Mars without elevation looks just kind of like a red sheet of nothing. Kind of hard to see what's what. It's not as diverse a landscape from space as Earth is, because Earth, you've got areas with a lot of like plants, you know, you've got dense jungles and you've got deserts, you've got water. So there's a lot of differences. But Mars is just dry wasteland. So this elevation map tells you some more information. What I like to do is I like to imagine, what if the blue parts was water? Think about that. That is where the water would go.
Didn't one of those rovers find ice underground?
A bit of water. Yeah, they did. Yeah, it's very interesting.
Makes it suitable for me.
Yeah, so,
Yes, it does.
yeah. I think this is another Gall-Peters projection. It's not as egregious when it's not your planet.
Yeah.
Right?
Imagine
you can't really tell that there's a problem. But
imagine if we wasted like a bunch of time on oxygen suits, and like every planet has oxygen. That'd be so funny.
Wow.
I mean, I know they don't. But like, that'd be so funny.
Yeah. No, yeah, that would be amazing. Well, it would still be useful for the space in between, right?
Yeah.
But
Like,
anyway, what this is interesting is that this can sort of extrapolate, give you an idea of what Mars would look like with water. You can also see the Tharsis bulge, the 4 main big mountains on Mars to the left.
Mm-hmm.
That's really interesting. And then to the right, you've got Elysium, which is like the 5th big mountain. And yeah, these are like volcanoes. These are huge. But yeah, let's look at a little edit I made of Mars with water on the next slide. Look at this.
That's nice.
I made this edit on a whim.
Looks like a golf course.
Right? Golf course. Imagine this is the map of your world, right? Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, that's
This
nice.
might be the case one day.
That
Mars
like
is really interesting because you basically have the giant Hellas Sea, and then you have the what's it called? It's called I forgot what it's called. It's the northern one. It's the Borealis, something like that. So you've got this northern ocean. Because it's really strange. The entire north half of Mars is on a lower elevation than the entire south half, which is just such a strange and foreign concept for us here on Earth. Yeah, it really depends how much water you want to fill up Mars with, because the more you fill it with water, the more it'll be Earth-like, because Earth is 79% water or something, 71%, something like that. So yeah, very interesting. And then here's a little close-up on Isidis Bay. Look at that. This is a little country I made here on Mars.
That's nice.
Around the Isidis Bay. Isn't it beautiful? I
Yeah.
think it's beautiful. I would want to live around this Isidis Bay. It's near to the equator. You get like it's tropical. You get some warmer weather. You got a ton of beautiful port cities here, I imagine. I imagine them as like European-style port cities. What do you think? Like on the Mediterranean. That's what I think of here. Anyway, yeah, just some world building. And then finally, a further zoom in on the Providence of North Isidis Bay. Look at that.
That's dope, man. Then there's your vacation home.
Yeah, that's vacation home. That's the Gravity Max secondary headquarters. So yeah, very nice. But yeah, anyway, final thoughts, because I know you got to go.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem. Maps.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Oh, unfortunately, we won't be able to get a game of GeoGuessr in, but we could do that on this season's game stream.
Yeah, we could. That'd be fun. So yeah, maps are very useful. Every map has its own specific purpose. I feel like it's a metaphor for life. You know,
Ooh.
Everyone has their own strengths and weaknesses. Everyone has their own purpose in life, right? That is how these maps are, you know? That is what's going on. No map works for every single situation.
These maps would be on a spectrum.
On what spectrum would that be?
They're on their own spectrum from good to bad, okay? And the worst is like...
No. That's
you can't. We just
to the message.
Yeah, we just compared it to life. You can't do it.
I didn't compare it to life. I said they'd be on their own spectrum.
Okay.
In any
Anyway.
case, no matter what,
In any case.
no matter what map you're making, no matter how you're projecting the world, the most important thing is that you leave Britain off of it. Because you gotta stick it to those bastards.
Don't upset the British audience. That is the second largest English-speaking country, right? Or maybe, actually, I think Nigeria is actually the second largest. So, but they are still very relevant because I imagine we would have a large part of our audience from England.
I formally invite any of our British viewers to a duel between me and them.
A duel.
Non-lethal
Like
is
10
what I
pace,
have
okay.
to say.
Nerf gun duel? Okay.
Yeah, sure. Some like that. If you are British and want to fight me, check out my channel, 128 Seconds. Email me, let me know.
You know what they're gonna say? They're gonna say,
come and watch a stream.
American.
Thank you, Jam.
Come watch a stream. TTB.
I will link your.
Jamaru. JAMARUE.
Here, wait. Can you send me a link in the Discord?
No.
Okay. I won't put, fine. Anyway, thank you.
You should already be following. You don't need the link. Have you not been following me?
I don't really use Twitch.
You don't need it.
Wow.
You don't need Twitch?
You don't need to use Twitch to follow me. I'm almost at 50.
Oh,
I'm 42.
all right.
They get
Okay.
followed with
I'll
many bots.
I've been watching Yui and your gameplay, but anyway, thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for coming on, Jam.
It's fun. You have the victorious map projection. Very nice.
I'm always what can I say?
Yeah. What can you say? So yeah.
Thank you, Shrimpco, for appearing.
Yeah. Thank you all for watching.
Voting on mine.
Thank you for using the chat, those who did, and thank you, Sebastian, for being my co-host as always.
As always.
So, yeah, we will see you guys next week, and that's it. Bye.
Bye-bye.
And end stream. All right, there we go. So yeah, just leave the obs running.